The death is announced of St. Albert Alcindor, better known as Albert of Cicero, who passed away at the Victoria Hospital on the 5th of October at 9 a.m. St. Albert was 87 years old. Left to mourn his two children mothers, Claire Lucienne, better known as Lala of Cicero, Teresa Daniel, better known as Ewani. 7 sons, Michael Richard, better known as Sakafet, employed with Anthony Jewelry, Claude Richard, better known as Cabo, Gaspar Richard, better known as Blue, Thaddeus Richard, better known as Carl, Felix Richard, better known as Pupayo, St. George Daniel, better known as Indehe, all of Cicero, Peter Daniel, better known as Pumpkin, of Barbano. 6 daughters, Marie Richard of Deglo, Teresa Richard, better known as Althea, Sophia Richard, better known as Crazy, employed of Cicero Roman Catholic Combined School, Marcella Mezido, better known as Tetet, Esther Daniel, all of Cicero, Lucretia VJ, better known as Christine of Boston. 56 grandchildren, including Aisha Richard of Orlando, Florida, David Richard, employed of Norwegian cruise ship, Keisha Richard, employed of Lespo, Jermaine Richard of St. Thomas, Darrell Richard of Canada, Cassius Richard, better known as BB, Tracy Richard, employed of Super J Supermarket, Emma Richard, a teacher of the Corpus Christi Preschool, Janelle Richard and Janine Richard of Cicero, Nadine Richard, Kimroy Richard of Yefo, Kimber Richard of Cicero, Rohan Daniel and Chanel George of Leclerc, Tammy George of Bocage Secondary, Shaquille George of Anglican Primary School, Brenda Emmanuel, also known as Dosha, Gail Emmanuel, better known as Buds, both of Cicero, Nella Maxius in New York, Zanisha Richard of Yefo, Ed Richard, Nelisa Francis of Castries Comprehensive School, Junior Richard, both of Cicero, Tyron and Christina of Boston. 36 great-grandchildren, including DeAndre Hippolyte of Orlando, Florida, Javan Richard of Cicero Combined School, Mitch Richard of Denrivier Combined, Janelle Nodrick of Barbano Secondary School. 2 brothers, Randolph Henry, better known as Rackbone, of Cicero, Elwin Henry, better known as Akoway. 2 sisters, Gertrude Chandler, better known as Eldora and family, Agnes Henry, better known as Maslin, both of Cicero. Nieces, Catherine Mitchell and family, Marie Armstrong, better known as Rosabelle, Rufina Charles, all of Cicero. Grandniece, Lydia George and family of Cicero. Also left to mourn, the Hippolyte family, the Lewis family, the Henry family, the Thompson family, the Joseph family, the Fede family, the Hollinseed family, the Papin family, the Morgan family, the Moise family, all of Cicero, the Alcindor family of Castries and Soufrière, the Darius family of Grand Riviere Groselet, the Honorable Minister Robert Lewis for Castries South, his friends, Joseph Lucien, better known as Mr., Claudette Daniel, his caretaker, Joycelyn Placid, all of Cicero. Many other relatives, both here and abroad, too numerous to mention. The funeral service for the late St. Albert Alcindor, better known as Albert, will be held on Thursday, 18th October at the St. Benedict Centre de Morne. Then the body will be interred at the Choc Cemetery. The body now lies at Creek's Funeral Home, Bidboutai. Buses will be available at 2:30 p.m. from Cicero to the church and back.